beginning our deep dive into the I Ching, and we're going to start off with the hexagrams and the mechanical development of the 6 lines, right? Your first line, your second line, 6th line, 5th line, all these. Where does this come from? How do these develop? So we're going to be talking about that in a structural capacity. So it's going to be pretty exciting. And before we dive in, thank you for watching and for liking and subscribing. It really helps us. And let's get into it. So first off, we're going to just give you a little bit of breakdown on the I Ching. So this is rooted in the legendary insights of Fuxi, who's like a mythological cultural hero in ancient China. The I Ching begins with the creation of the 8 trigrams, evolving from a single yin-yang line into 3-line symbols, encapsulating the universe's fundamental forces. And we'll explore step by step from the first line to the 3rd line before showing how these trigrams stack to form the 64 hexagrams, unlocking a deeper map of life's complexities, revealing their profound connection to human design and the patterns within our genetic code.
And they are connected. They're deeply connected. Again, they read this stuff thousands of years ago, and thousands of years later, they were right.
Yeah, they were definitely touching onto something of a greater pattern, like a greater absolute truth that exists all around us.
Indeed, and within us too. It's nice.
Here we have the yin yang, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with this symbol. And it was new to me to find out that the official name for the yin-yang symbol is actually a tajitu, which means diagram of the supreme ultimate. And so this concept is deeply rooted in ancient Chinese philosophy and cosmology, especially Taoism, and it reflects a worldview centered on balance, harmony, and the interplay of opposites. And the earliest Chinese thought about this was around 1200 BC or earlier in the Shang dynasty. And so the Taji is the concept of the supreme ultimate, right? Like the universe, God, the all that is, like the source of all. And the symbol dates back to the Warring States period between 475 and 221 BC. And then Tajitu is the actual name of this symbol. So the name that they came up with it as Tajitu dates back to the Song dynasty, dating 960 to 1279 AD. And so this symbol, this concept, represents 2 complementary forces in the universe. From the infinite void, the Wuji, emerges the Taji, which is the supreme ultimate. And so within the symbol, you can see the yin is the darkness. It represents femininity, receptivity, and earth. And it ranges the spectrum from creativity to chaos. And then the yang represents the light, masculinity, activity in heaven, and it ranges from order to tyranny. So within the darkness, there's a little bit of light. Within the light, there's a little bit of darkness, and it acts as this balancing act.
For anyone old enough, that's just like that commercial with 2 great tastes that go great together, right? You got a little chocolate in my peanut butter.
Yeah, a little peanut butter in my chocolate. Yeah, that's the yin yang. That's exactly it. Now we're going to start breaking down and building up the symbol. So here you have the yin yang, and the yin is represented by a broken line and the yang by a solid line. The yin is the feminine, where the yang is masculine, and within like a binary code, yin would be the 0, the yang would be the 1. And if you want to think of it like electromagnetically, then the feminine is the minus sign, which is the magnetic. And then the yang, the masculine, is the plus side, which is the electric. So if you think of a battery, like a little AA, you got the little pointy nub bit that sticks out with the plus sign because that's pushing out electricity, whereas that flat side goes in a little bit because it's acting as a magnet, and it's receiving and it's pulling it in. And when you put a battery in the wrong way, it's not going to work. But when you put it in properly and the electricity and the magnetism is creating that circuit, you have power.
I'm glad you used electricity, because it's worth noting that the electron, while it's been demonstrated that it doesn't quite move through the, one electron doesn't move its own self through the whole process to the end of the wire, but they are all moving. They're all bumping into each other. It's basically the electrons that do all the movement.
Oh, that's
all the energy movement, the movement that makes the thing happen.
So continuing on as we're building up our 3 lines and ultimately our 6-line hexagrams. So what we're just going to do here is we're just going to double up each side. So that singular yin broken line, we're just going to duplicate it on each side. So now we have 2 of them, and the same thing with the yang. We have the single yang, and we've just duplicated it to have 2 yang underneath. So we're eventually going to have 4 building up. So what we're going to do now is just take another yin and a yang, a broken and a solid line over that original duplication of the yin. So now we just went from the 1 yin into 2 versions of it. And same thing here on the yang side, where we have the first line double yang. And now we're just going to put another broken and solid line up here. So we've just went from the 0, the supreme ultimate, into the foundational yin yang line into the second line. And now there's 4 of them.
This is the ultimate, for anybody who knows anything about genetics, this is the ultimate base pair. And the reason it's so, I mean, back into human design, the base pair is the starting pair for each quarter around the wheel.
The 4 quarters of the human design body graph, and it's like the realm of Alcyone and Dubhe and Jupiter and Sirius. If you look just in that second row out, that's what you see. And so this is what that's referring to. So I believe the double yin is Dubhe, the yang over the yin is Jupiter, and then the yin over the yang is Alcyone, and then the double yang is Sirius, for my other nerds out there.
And it's worth noting that in our genome, whenever they're hunting for something, they can't know anything, no matter what they find, until they've identified that particular species' base pair. And there's only 4 choices on planet Earth. And look, there's only 4 choices here. Even though it does, when we get to the trigram, we get to more, obviously. But the base pair is the layering of a yin and a yang, or a 1 and a 0. I mean, it's just amazing how much everything copies this. Our electricity copies it. Our computer code, which we had to figure out to put onto a CD-ROM somehow, that does it too. You know, so even when we're not knowing it, we're still copying ourselves.
Yeah, I feel like that just speaks to the absolute truth within the pattern, within our programming. So it's like we're able to find things that speak to that because that absolute truth exists.
Damn straight.
And we're going to go from our 1 to the 2, and now we're going to start developing our 3rd line structures. So this is really fun. So here we're just going to take that double yin base pair and we're just going to duplicate it. So now we have 2 double yins at the bottom, and we're going to continue that throughout. So here we have the yin with the yang on top, where now we have 2 of them. We just duplicated it. Same thing here with the yang and then the yin on top. We duplicated it. And now we have the double yang duplicated as well. So now we have the foundational 2 lines of our 8 trigrams. And just like we did above, we're just going to start stacking another yin and another yang on top of each pair. So here we have the triple yin lines and then the yin with the yang on top. And same thing, we're going to put another yin and yang on top of it.
And notice this is repeating.
Yeah, this is just the
That's
same
the beauty
thing.
of it all. It's going to be yin yang, yin yang, yin yang.
It's just the same thing. Like once you understand the base concept, and you don't look at it all at once because that's super overwhelming, but it just like, that's why I really wanted to make this video, to stack it out and really explain it, of like, it looks really complicated, but it's not. It's just a pattern progressing of duplication and another yin and a yang expression on top of each one. So continuing on, same thing, another yin and a yang, and then finally another final yin and yang on the last double yang pairing. And so now we have our 8 trigrams. The triple yin is earth, then it goes to mountain, water, wind, thunder, fire, lake, and heaven, from the most yin to the most yang, and then all together we have our 8 trigrams.
So this is really cool because in a lot of the ancient knowledge, I imagine it was boiled down, condensed, or in some cases maybe even dumbed down a little bit. But right, I remember earth, fire, water, air, and it would stop there.
Yeah, it's very Captain Planet.
Okay. Yeah. And when in reality it's earth, mountain, water, wind, thunder, fire, lake, heaven. It's more.
It depends how many they like express it out to. If you're talking about like the I Ching and the trigrams, then it's going to go into these 8. But if you just looked at like 4 and 4, then you can look at those pairings. Or these, even like with the Chinese, there's like a 5-1 where there's like metal. So I think it just depends the modality and lens that you're looking through.
And also what we are looking at, these are the building blocks of life, because all they can do is repeat on the upper trigram when you stack up a whole hexagram. Same thing in genetics. They named it the upper and lower tripid before human design ever got published. So it's just so funny how these things line right up.
Yeah, it's all speaking to the same stuff. Oh, and this is what I think is very interesting as well. In human design, you're talking about the third line, and when somebody has a third line profile, then we bump into the world. We're like bumping into like the physicality of the world. And I find it very interesting that as our trigrams, they have their 3 lines, and these are all very material, earth, physical world around you: earth, mountain, water, wind. Like it's all these things that are now being bumped into. It's like the actual physical world that you're bumping into.
With one exception, heaven. You're right.
Yeah, heaven is
That's interesting.
the spark from above, though. So it's still, even if we're not there, like where does the earth begin and
But
the
it's not
air,
the earthly thing. It's not the water your plants from the lake, keep yourself warm with
absolutely.
the fire, entertain yourself with the thunder. It's not
Yeah,
right. I
absolutely. But
get
it's
it.
like you're still affected by the sun. Like the sun is still
It's
bumping into you in a sense. So it's like it's
I'm
still there.
thinking I'm thinking heaven is the representation of the sun. And in fact, of course it is, because it's all yang. So that would be the sun and the earth. And okay.
Yeah.
I'm learning too, by the way. So that's why I'm butting in and
Yeah, I
asking.
figured that's why it was gonna be really fun. I was like, I'm just gonna come up with this presentation and Danny and I are gonna nerd out for a little bit. Now we're gonna talk about how we actually get to the 6 lines, right? Because we have the 3 lines of the trigrams. So how does this now go from a trigram to a hexagram? So for our example, we have the triple yin, which is the trigram of earth. And then we're gonna take the triple yang, which is heaven, and we're gonna now stack them on top of each other. So now you have earth, triple yin, and then you have heaven, which was triple yang. And when you stack them on top of one another, now you have a hexagram, which is 6 lines that represents gate 11.
Wow, that's gate 11.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And in my mind, I am reading heaven as sun, but we want to keep it to the text that we're looking at. So I get it.
Yeah, it's the spark of creativity. It is the beyond the human in that sense. But
The
yeah,
light. It's the
yeah.
light.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so this is how you go from the 3-line trigram to the 6-line hexagram. You're just stacking it on top of one another. So same when we do our transits every week, when we say, earth over heaven, and then you're talking about gate 11, and it's got this pretty picture talking about this imagery. This is what it's referring to.
I love this display. By the way, it shows everything. It really does. And the whole reason to stack them is because so I'm not sure, egg, chicken and egg. Okay. So to me, God gave us the stuff. And so we're sort of, in a way, the center of certain of things, sort of. I can say that a little bit. We have to get to this whole stacking because a trigram does not make the life. You need the whole hexagram. 2 trigrams coming together. Actually, what does that sound like? That sounds like a holy union. You need the union of the 2. Mother and father, of course it is. Yeah, you need them both. So mother and father in this hierarchy never stops. If we started adding these on top of each other, we would still have an ultimate breakdown that was mother, father, yin, yang, heaven, earth.
Yeah.
Sun,
Masculine,
earth, sun.
feminine,
Yep.
like electric, magnetic. Right.
Mhm.
And it's the thing too, like at our very base, I mean, it's like if you're looking at like the sperm and the egg, like the sperm is electric. It is just going in a straight line. It is pure yang moving in a straight line, focused on the one place that it's going. Whereas the egg isn't chasing. The egg is just like hanging out, waiting, being magnetic. And it's like, cool, come to me. I'll be here. I'll be here when you get here.
Right,
Like that
right.
that base electric magnetic relationship.
And it really holds all of the substance. They both hold the same information apparently because they have to come together, or they hold equal amounts of information, but the actual substance is all sitting in the egg, and it's all sitting in earth, and it's just, I like the way that works out.
Yeah. Earth is the pure potentiality.
The potential to raise it up. Yep.
This is going to be really fun. So now we're going to expand this out and start getting into like the genetic DNA and binary code aspect that human design represents. So if you're looking at the binary code, yin is represented with the 0, and it's with the minus sign as in the electromagnetic, right? Because the yin is magnetic and it's receiving. So, and then the yang in binary code would be the 1, or in electromagnetic view, then it's like the plus sign because it's the electricity that's moving out. And so if you have a double yin line, then it's 0, 0. And within the I Ching, this will be referred to as old yin. And then
First yin.
First yin, old yin, yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be referred to as one of those. Then if you have the yin over the yang, then it's 0 over 1. And so this is referred to as young yin because the second line is the younger of the lines, right? You build it up from the bottom up. So the bottom line is the old one. And then the second line is the young one.
It's just the newest one, the newest arrival.
It's the newest one. Exactly. That's a better way of saying it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Continuing on, we have the yang over the yin, which is the 1 over the 0, which is then the young yang, because again, the second line is newer. And so that second line is yang. So it's the young yang. And then finally, the double yang solid line is 1 over 1, and it's the old yang.
When this fleshes out and we add in mother, father to this, just from these 4 on this side, anybody who programs, hopefully you're starting to notice the 8 paired helix that are 8 1s and 0s in a cluster. When you're coding, it's not 6, it's 8. And it's last I knew, I mean, someone correct me if I'm wrong, and it's 8 1s and 0s representing this right here. Yeah.
It's cool. Yeah, it's like when you start actually realizing that human design is touching at something real, and you start getting into that genetics, you get into the DNA, you get into the binary code, that like all of these things are speaking about the same program in a way.
That program is us.
Mm-hmm. So continuing on, we're going to start going into this DNA codon side of it. And so that double yin, old yin, 0 over 0, it relates to thiamine. Then the young yin, yin over yang, 0 over 1 is cytosine. Then the young yang, which is the yang over the yin, the 1 over the 0 is guanine. And then finally the old yang, the yang over yang, 1 over 1, that is adenine. And so thiamine links up with adenine because the 0s and the 1s go together. So thiamine is 0, 0, and adenine is 1, 1. So again, the 0s and the 1s, the electric magnetic, they pair, the yin and the yang, they just pair up by the very nature.
Batteries would be good to consider here. This is the way to make it so that you have a north and south pole, a positive and a negative.
Oh, there you go. Thank you. That's a really good analogy. Cytosine, the C links up with guanine, the G, because again, the 0 and the 1, and then the 1 and the 0, that electromagnetic relationship, guanine with the cytosine. And then finally, the adenine goes with thiamine, because the A and the T, the 1 and the 0. This is what's then linking up within our DNA. I believe they're called nucleotides, where they are pairing up. And so these are literally like our building blocks.
Yep. And you'll notice the spiral because we are a double helix, the helix being the shell. It's not just one. They zipper together to make something. Notice it looks like a zipper. If you just look at that TACGGCAT, if you just look just up and down real quick, it looks like the teeth of a zipper. Yep.
It's so cool. I just think this is so fun to go over in the most nerdy way. It's like super cool if you're into it, but it's like so nerdy, but it's so exciting because again, it's speaking to this depth of the patterning, the depth of the programming, and the fact that we can understand it, and that human design speaks to something so real that you can experiment with it, that you can test it out because it's speaking about an absolute truth.
Yes, and so basic and so fundamental to life on this planet, you know what I mean? Just like a negative and a positive, you know, they've been there all along. Even our cells have a negative and a positive side to it, one way or another. I just like how this whole thing ends up zippering up. It's a piece of magic, in my opinion. How'd that happen? Oops, how'd that happen?
Yeah,
You know?
almost as if it's designed that way.
Mm-hmm. One more thing about this. We're always wondering, we make copies of ourselves, right? You know, we bleed a little bit, we make some more blood, right? It's because it's all there. A hair follicle has the same genetic material as a flake of skin from your toe, which could recreate you, so to speak. And so if you look at it this way and you see this, it means that once half of it, the nucleotide that is the half, this would be like the RNA. Once one of them is set up, it automatically attracts only one way on the other side to guarantee an exact copy each time. So, I mean, it begs the question, why do we grow old? That's every time I look at stuff like this, I wonder why?
I feel like that's just in the programming as well. It's like we're not made to live forever.
I can't accept that as a foregone fact necessarily. There's no rule that says that that's the case other than, well, I guess there is a bit of a rule, because if I try and break those rules, I'll find out soon enough, won't I, Moni?
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah, you're right. But I mean, but ultimately, there is no rule cosmically that I know of that's been stated that says it has to be. Why? They make a perfect copy each time, but apparently they don't.
Or the ability deteriorates over time too, like the quality of the copy.
Yeah,
It's like if you keep making a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy each time, it deteriorates a little bit.
yeah, and that's exactly what happened. So there's going to be new frontiers in that arena. I'm sure of it. There's a lot of billionaires that want to live forever anyway, so something's going to give. We'll find out.
So as our final exploration, this is pretty fun. We're going to look at the yin yang code for hexagram 51, which is thunder. And the trigram is actually thunder over and under. So it's the same exact trigram on both, where it's the yang, yin, yang, yin, yin. And so we're going to now break this down into the binary code. Double yin is the 00 for binary code. Then you have the yang over the yin, which is the 1 over the 0. And then finally, you have the yin over the yang, which is 0 over 1. So there's your binary code for hexagram 51.
Yeah, and anybody who, again, programs code will recognize this structure. We started programming code on our computers before fully understanding in our genetic code this was the case. It was just the thing that made sense. And when I read for people and I point that, if that comes up and I point that out, I was like, there's a deep connection, because why binary? Here we come up with this. I don't know that we came up with it independently. I doubt we actually came up fully independently with binary code for computing, because we did crack our code in 57, but we were messing around with computers and code. These things grew up, these sciences grew up together, and they copied each other without necessarily knowing the full breadth of each other at all. So it is unique that we come to the same place almost accidentally. And so why binary code? What was the rule on that? So some guys are like, hey, let's keep it at binary. And I was like, why not trinary? Why not 4? Why not 22? What was the rule? Isn't more better? Right? You have more options, you get maybe more sophisticated things, but nope. Just like a good generator, 0. And that's it.
Yeah, again, I feel like it just speaks to the absolute truth of the programming, because that is just the way that our universe is built. Like we're built on a binary code. We're built in the masculine and the feminine, the yin and the yang. It's just these absolute factual truths. It's just the foundation which the program is built. So that's what you're going to see. That's what you're going to interact with. That's what you're going to develop.
So we are the code. I mean, we knew that in the Matrix. That Matrix is like a guideline book, right, of some sort. It always comes up. Everyone mentions it.
And finally, we're going to go into the genetic code on that nucleotide aspect. So 00 is thymine, 1 over 0 is guanine, and 0 over 1 is cytosine, which altogether, there's the TAGCCG, is the amino acid for arginine.
By the way, this lower part where the yin-yang code, the hexagram 51, and we get over to the thymine, the guanine, and the cytosine, and we get to the name of the amino acid, what you're looking at is the flow chart that basically came about when we cracked our genetic code in the first place in 1957. Who were the scientists? They were Watson and Crick. They did the deed, and it came to this. This is the formula to get to the actual. And you can't end up having the whole amino acid until all 6 lines of the hexagram are put in place.
Oh, that's really interesting, because it took the 6 lines to get the 3
Yep.
base
to get,
is to build up the
yes,
amino acid to have the three of them.
yes.
That's really interesting.
And that's why we're always layering these minos on top of each other. And that's why one of them is always transitioning out. And it's the 3 transitions out when we're talking about a trigram, and the 6 transitions out when we're talking about a hexagram. And those 2 are the mirror of each other. They're the harmony to each other. This whole thing flows like a Da Vinci, like something Leonardo painted, seriously.
Yeah, just that scene from A Beautiful Mind.
Rain Man mind, downloaded. Some of the stuff was incredibly downloaded. I mean, I have a Rain Man mind sometimes, but not like, this thing
Yeah.
just came in. I adore it.
I have my DNA genome thing sequenced from like 23andMe, and I like downloaded it. I wonder if I actually went in, if I could play around with this enough to come up with the TACG combinations for all of it.
Mhm.
And then would I be able to build out all my hexagrams in this way?
What's important, just an important thing, I mean, in the whole field of education, just generally speaking, now you can see that when you see this stuff, on a show, on a this, or someone mentions it, it doesn't have to seem strictly like Greek to you. You can be like, oh, this is according to the logical format that if I look at it again, I can figure that out. Remember that common language in human design is the logical circuitry, right?
Mom was a bilingual teacher for many, many years, and her students always loved math because math is the same in every language.
Indeed, it is. Just like, it's funny because just like human design, won't matter what language you're reading in, you're going to get the same keynotes and call out the same stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's like there is that logic, there is that pattern to the program that we can visually explore, and you can, just it looks really complicated at first, like all of this information, but as we just broke it down, it wasn't as big of a deal once you understand like the key to the pattern.
Yeah, and just from this sort of higher level of consciousness thing, just to think about it, everyone always knows that we're supposed to be raising ourselves up in our consciousness, and generally, and what this whole thing speaks to is you need one to have the other each and every single time, and it doesn't matter what language you read human design in or do math in, it's always going to come out, basically the same. So we're all the same. I mean, if ever there was a way to message out just in a logical format, never mind how you feel inside, of course, that to me is the higher purpose self. Or when you feel that that's a good thing, you recognize we are all the same,
We're made
wildly different, yet all the same.
with same
It's,
building blocks. It's
yep,
like we have the same Lego pieces, but you can put them together in
identical.
infinite
Like,
number of
yep,
ways.
yep, yep, yep. So we're all just the same Lego set, different
Put together
characters.
in beautiful different combinations.
Yes, yes, yes. It is a gorgeous thing.
Thank you for exploring this with me, and thank you for our audience for watching and liking, subscribing, and commenting and all this stuff.